The dense foliage of the alien jungle was still, save for the occasional flutter of exotic birds and the rustle of unseen creatures. A strange calm hung over the landscape, only to be shattered by a deafening roar as an enormous warship broke through the cloud cover. The behemoth, a relic from a long-forgotten war, crashed through the canopy and settled heavily on the forest floor, shaking the ground for miles around. Inside the wreckage, Commander Elena Morales slowly regained consciousness. Her vision blurred. She saw the twisted metal and shattered consoles of the bridge. Beside her, Lieutenant Kai Nakamura groaned, clutching a bleeding arm. They were the only survivors of a crew of thousands, their mission to transport critical supplies to an allied planet, now a distant memory. Elena struggled to her feet, her military training kicking in. "Kai, can you move?" "Just about." He winced, managing to stand. "What now, Commander?" "We assess the damage and see if we can get this ship operational again. We're sitting ducks out here." As they navigated the maze of debris, they discovered the extent of the damage was far worse than they had imagined. The ship's core systems were offline, and the power supply was critically low. But Elena was determined. They were humans, and if there was one thing humans were known for, it was their ability to fix the unfixable. Days turned into weeks as Elena and Kai worked tirelessly to restore basic functions to the ship. Their survival depended on it. Supplies were running low, and the dense jungle offered little in terms of edible resources. One morning, as they scavenged for parts, they encountered a group of aliens unlike any they had seen before. Tall and slender with luminescent skin, the creatures communicated through a series of melodic sounds. Despite the language barrier, it became clear they were offering help. Elena hesitated, but then extended a hand in thanks. "We need all the help we can get." The aliens, understanding the universal gesture, guided them to a hidden enclave where ancient technology lay dormant. With the aliens' assistance, Elena and Kai discovered advanced tools and machinery that could potentially repair the warship's core systems. With the newfound resources, Elena and Kai made significant progress. The alien technology was beyond anything they had ever seen, and it breathed new life into their failing systems. But their work did not go unnoticed. Unknown to them, their activities had drawn the attention of a hostile faction also stranded on the planet. Late one night, as Elena was recalibrating the ship's navigation systems, a blaring alarm shattered the silence. Intruders had breached their perimeter. She grabbed her weapon and rushed out to find Kai already engaged in a firefight with heavily armed aliens. "We need to protect the ship at all costs!" she shouted, joining the fray. The battle was fierce, but Elena and Kai, with the help of their new allies, managed to fend off the attackers. However, the skirmish revealed a deeper threat. Someone wanted their ship and its advanced technology. In the aftermath of the attack, Elena and Kai interrogated one of the captured intruders. The alien, under duress, revealed a shocking truth. Their warship carried a hidden power source capable of ending the war that ravaged their galaxy. This information put a new urgency on their repairs. Realizing the full potential of their mission, Elena pushed her team harder. With the combined knowledge of human ingenuity and alien technology, they managed to reactivate the ship's core systems. The once dormant engines hummed to life, and lights flickered back on across the massive vessel. But their celebration was short-lived. The hostile faction had regrouped and was preparing for a full-scale assault. The hostile forces launched their attack at dawn. Waves of enemies stormed their position, determined to seize the ship and its powerful secret. Elena and Kai, alongside their alien allies, mounted a desperate defense. Explosions rocked the jungle as laser fire streaked through the air. Elena fought fiercely, her mind focused on one goal: keep the ship safe. She knew that if they lost, it wouldn't just be their lives at stake, but the fate of countless others. Kai, despite his injuries, proved to be an invaluable marksman, picking off enemies with precision. The alien allies, using their advanced weaponry, held the line. The battle was chaotic and brutal, but inch by inch they repelled the invaders. As the dust settled, the wreckage of the battlefield was strewn with fallen enemies. Elena, bruised and exhausted, looked over the warship. It stood battered but operational. They had done the impossible. With the immediate threat neutralized, Elena turned her attention to their original mission. Using the advanced technology and the newly revealed power source, they were able to repair the ship completely. The news sent a chill through Elena, but it also steeled her resolve. "We need to prepare," she said, addressing both the humans and Zephyr. "We will defend this ship and our newfound allies." The village erupted into a flurry of activity. Zephyr warriors armed themselves with their advanced weaponry, while Elena and Kai fortified the ship's defenses. The calm before the storm was palpable, a tense anticipation hanging in the air. As dawn broke, the hostile forces appeared on the horizon. The time had come to fight, not just for their survival, but for the future of both the humans and the Zephyr. Elena stood at the ready, her weapon in hand, her heart filled with determination. The battle that ensued was fierce and relentless. Waves of enemies clashed with the combined forces of humans and Zephyr. Laser fire and explosions filled the air, the jungle a chaotic battleground. Elena fought with unwavering resolve, her every move guided by the desire to protect her newfound friends and their shared dream of freedom. Despite the overwhelming odds, the defenders held their ground. Inch by inch, they pushed back the invaders, their unity and determination proving stronger than the enemy's numbers. The Zephyr, inspired by the courage of their human allies, fought with renewed vigor, their melodic battle cries echoing through the jungle. As the dust settled and the last of the invaders were driven off, a cheer rose from the victorious defenders. Elena, bruised and exhausted, looked at the warship. It stood, battered but intact, a testament to their resilience and ingenuity. With the immediate threat neutralized, Elena knew their mission was far from over. The activation of the ship's core systems had drawn unwanted attention, and they needed to leave the planet before more enemies arrived. Using the advanced technology and the newly revealed power source, they were able to repair the ship completely. As the warship lifted off the ground, Elena looked down at the jungle that had been their prison and their savior. They were heading back to their fleet, armed with the knowledge and power to end the war once and for all. Elena and Kai, with the help of their Zephyr friends, had turned a desperate situation into a beacon of hope. The warship's core systems hummed with renewed life, thanks to the relentless efforts of Elena, Kai, and their Zephyr allies. Yet the respite was fleeting. The realization that the ship contained a hidden power source, capable of ending the war that had ravaged their galaxy, added a new layer of urgency to their mission. Every second counted, and they knew they were living on borrowed time. Elena stood on the bridge, staring at the holographic display of their surroundings. The jungle outside seemed deceptively peaceful, a stark contrast to the storm brewing in her mind. Kai entered, a serious look on his face. "Commander, the power core is unlike anything we've ever seen," he said, holding a tablet displaying schematics. "It's not just a power source, it's a weapon, a beacon, and a shield all in one. We need to understand it fully before we can use it." Elena nodded, her mind racing. "Agreed. Gather a team. We need to study this core inside out. If it's as powerful as we think, it's our best chance of turning the tide." The next few days were a blur of activity. The Zephyr elders, with their deep knowledge of ancient technologies, worked alongside the human engineers to decipher the mysteries of the core. The ship, once a mere vessel, now seemed like a sentient being, its systems responding almost intuitively to their touch. One night, as Elena pored over data logs in the dim light of the bridge, she noticed a pattern emerging in the core's energy readings. It was almost as if the core was alive, pulsing with a rhythm that matched no known energy source. She felt a shiver run down her spine. "Elena, look at this!" Kai's voice broke her concentration. He pointed to a section of the schematics. "The core is connected to every system in the ship, but it's also linked to something outside, something deep in the jungle." Elena frowned, her curiosity piqued. "We need to find out what it's connected to. It might be the key to understanding its full potential." The following morning, a small expedition team was assembled. Elena, Kai, and a group of Zephyr warriors ventured into the jungle, guided by the energy readings from the core. The journey was arduous, the thick vegetation and unpredictable terrain slowing their progress. Yet their determination never wavered. As they delved deeper into the jungle, the landscape began to change. The trees grew taller and more twisted, their leaves a deep, iridescent green. The air was thick with the scent of unfamiliar flowers, and the ground was covered in a carpet of bioluminescent moss that glowed under their feet. After hours of trekking, they arrived at a clearing dominated by an ancient structure half buried in the earth. It was a monolith, its surface covered in intricate carvings that seemed to depict a story of great power and terrible conflict. At its center was a massive door, sealed shut by some unknown force. Elena approached the monolith, feeling a strange connection to it. As she laid her hand on the carvings, a surge of energy coursed through her and the door began to glow. The Zephyr warriors watched in awe as the ancient seal slowly dissolved, revealing a passage leading into the heart of the structure. Inside, the air was cool and still. The walls were lined with more carvings, telling a tale of an advanced civilization that had harnessed the power of the core to achieve great feats, but had ultimately been destroyed by their own hubris. At the end of the passage, they found a chamber with a pedestal, upon which rested a small, crystalline device. "This must be it," Kai whispered, his eyes wide with wonder. "The key to unlocking the core's full potential." Elena reached out and carefully lifted the device from its resting place. As she did, the carvings on the walls began to glow and the chamber filled with a soft, resonant hum. She felt a connection to the ship, as if it were speaking to her through the device. "We need to take this back to the ship," she said, her voice filled with determination. "It's the final piece of the puzzle." Returning to the warship, the team immediately began integrating the crystalline device with the core. The ship responded almost immediately, its systems coming online with a power and efficiency they had never seen before. The core's energy readings stabilized, and the ship's AI began to process data at an unprecedented rate. As the integration completed, the ship's holographic display lit up with a map of the galaxy, highlighting key points of interest and potential threats. The core's true purpose became clear. It was not just a power source, but a navigational tool and a weapon of immense power. Elena and Kai stood on the bridge, staring at the map in awe. "This changes everything," Kai said, his voice filled with a mix of excitement and apprehension. Elena nodded. "We need to get this information to our fleet. With this power, we can end the war and bring peace to our galaxy." But even as they celebrated their breakthrough, a sense of unease lingered. The hostile forces that had attacked them once were still out there, and they would stop at nothing to seize the core and its power for themselves. As they prepared for the journey ahead, Elena knew they were not just fighting for their survival, but for the future of countless worlds. They had the power to change the course of history, but with it came a responsibility that weighed heavily on her shoulders. The warship, now fully operational and more powerful than ever, lifted off from the jungle. Its engines roared to life, propelling them into the sky and towards their destiny. Elena stood at the helm, her resolve stronger than ever. They were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, armed with the knowledge and power they had gained from their allies and their journey into the unknown. As they soared into the vastness of space, Elena couldn't help but feel a sense of hope. They had overcome incredible odds, forging alliances and uncovering secrets that could bring an end to the war. The path ahead was uncertain, but they were no longer alone. With the Zephyr by their side and the power of the core within their grasp, they were ready to face the future, whatever it might hold. With the ship's systems fully operational and the core integrated, Elena and Kai felt a cautious optimism. Yet the revelations of the previous days weighed heavily on them. The power they now wielded was immense, and with it came the responsibility to understand its true nature and implications. Elena spent long hours in the ship's data archives, poring over every fragment of information related to the core. The Zephyr elders, with their vast knowledge of ancient technologies, were invaluable in this endeavor. They shared stories of their ancestors, who had once harnessed similar powers, only to see their civilization fall. One evening, as Elena was engrossed in a particularly dense technical manual, Kai entered the room with a concerned expression. "Elena, you need to see this," he said, leading her to the main bridge. On the central display, a series of encrypted messages were flashing. They were distress signals from various allied planets, all indicating the presence of hostile forces. The enemies they had fended off earlier were not just remnants. They were part of a larger, more coordinated assault. "These attacks are too organized to be a coincidence," Elena said, her mind racing. "They know about the core, and they won't stop until they have it." Kai nodded. "We need to decode these messages and warn our fleet. They need to know what we're up against." The task was daunting. The messages were heavily encrypted, using codes that were decades old. Elena and Kai worked tirelessly, their fingers flying over the keyboards as they decrypted each fragment of data. Slowly but surely, a pattern began to emerge. The hostile faction, known as the Drari, were remnants of an ancient empire that had once ruled vast swathes of the galaxy. They had been defeated and scattered, but the activation of the core had reignited their ambitions. They saw the core as their ticket to reclaiming their lost glory, and they were willing to wage war to obtain it. As the pieces of the puzzle fell into place, Elena felt a chill run down her spine. The Drari were not just enemies. They were zealots, driven by a fanatical belief in their destiny. Their leader, a warlord named Scaroth, was infamous for his ruthlessness and cunning. He had united the scattered Drari clans under his banner, and now they were on the move. "We need to prepare for the worst," Elena said, her voice steady despite the growing tension. "We have to assume that Scaroth knows exactly where we are and what we have. Our best chance is to outthink him." The next few days were a whirlwind of activity. The ship's defenses were fortified and contingency plans were put in place. The Zephyr warriors, skilled in both combat and strategy, drilled tirelessly alongside the human crew. There was a sense of urgency, but also a determination that was palpable. One night, as Elena was reviewing the latest security protocols, she received a message from Zephyr, the elder who had guided them to the core. He requested a private meeting, his tone grave. Elena met Zephyr in the warship's observation deck, a quiet space with a panoramic view of the stars. The elder's luminous skin seemed to shimmer in the low light, his eyes reflecting a wisdom born of centuries. "Commander," Zephyr began, his voice soft but firm, "there is something you must know about the core. It is more than just a power source. It is a living entity, a sentient being that chose to bond with your ship. It has the power to communicate, to influence, and to protect." Elena was stunned. "You mean the core is alive?" Zephyr nodded. "Yes, and it has chosen you, Elena. It sees in you the potential to bring balance to this conflict. But you must be careful. The core is powerful, but it can also be dangerous if not understood and respected." Elena absorbed this revelation, feeling the weight of her responsibility grow even heavier. "How do I communicate with it?" Zephyr placed a hand on her shoulder. "Through your thoughts, your intentions. The core is attuned to your mind. Trust in yourself, and it will guide you." With this newfound understanding, Elena returned to the bridge. She sat in the captain's chair, closing her eyes and focusing her thoughts on the core. She felt a warm, pulsating energy like a heartbeat resonating through the ship. It was a comforting presence, but also one that demanded respect. "Show me," she whispered, her mind reaching out to the core. "Show me how to protect my people." In response, the ship's holographic display lit up with new data. Schematics of advanced defensive systems, tactical maneuvers, and potential weak points in the Drari forces. The core was sharing its knowledge, offering its strength. Elena opened her eyes, feeling a surge of confidence. "We have a fighting chance," she said, her voice filled with resolve. "We will defend this ship and our allies. The Drari will not prevail." As preparations continued, Elena briefed her team on the core's sentience and the new strategies. The news was met with a mixture of awe and determination. They knew the stakes were higher than ever, but they also knew they had an edge, a living ally that was as invested in their victory as they were. The calm before the storm was intense. The ship's sensors detected the Drari fleet approaching, and the final countdown began. Elena stood on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the horizon. She could feel the core's presence, a constant reminder of the power they now wielded. "We're ready," she said, her voice steady. "We will fight for our survival, for our allies, and for the future of our galaxy." As the Drari ships emerged from hyperspace, the warship system sprang to life. Defensive turrets targeted incoming vessels, and the shields hummed with energy. The battle was about to begin, and Elena knew they had everything they needed to succeed. With a deep breath, she gave the order, "Engage!" The warship surged forward, its engines blazing with the power of the core. The battle was fierce and relentless, but Elena and her crew fought with a determination born of necessity. They had the knowledge, the technology, and the will to prevail. And as the first Drari ship exploded in a blaze of light, Elena knew they were on the path to victory. The secrets of the core had been unveiled, and with them the hope of ending the war and restoring peace to their galaxy. The days leading up to the battle were a flurry of activity, as Elena and her crew made their final preparations. The ship, now a hybrid of human and Zephyr technology, was a formidable force, but they knew the Drari would not be easily defeated. The impending confrontation would determine the fate of countless worlds, and the weight of that responsibility pressed heavily on Elena's shoulders. As the Drari fleet drew closer, the atmosphere aboard the warship was tense but resolute. Elena stood on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the tactical display that showed the enemy ships converging on their position. The core's presence was a constant reassurance, its energy a steady pulse that matched the rhythm of her own heartbeat. Kai joined her, his face grim but determined. "Scouts report that Scaroth's flagship is leading the assault," he said. "He's not holding back." Elena nodded, her mind racing with strategies. "We'll need to hit them hard and fast, use the core's power to our advantage. If we can take out Scaroth's flagship, the rest of the fleet might lose their cohesion." The Zephyr elders, who had been instrumental in decoding the core's capabilities, were also present on the bridge. Zephyr, their leader, approached Elena, his expression serene despite the impending battle. "The core has chosen you, Commander," he said softly. "It will amplify your strengths and guide your actions. Trust in it, and you will find the path to victory." Elena took a deep breath, feeling the core's energy merge with her own resolve. "Thank you, Zephyr. We won't let you down." As the enemy fleet entered firing range, the warship's defenses sprang to life. Turrets swiveled into position, and the shields glowed with a vibrant blue light, strengthened by the core's power. The first volley of Drari fire struck the shields, but they held firm, absorbing the energy and dispersing it harmlessly. "All hands, prepare for combat," Elena commanded, her voice steady and authoritative. "Target the lead ships and prepare to engage on my mark." The bridge crew moved with practiced precision, their fear tempered by their trust in their commander and the ship's newfound capabilities. The first wave of fighters launched, streaking towards the enemy with deadly intent. Explosions lit up the space between the ships as the battle began in earnest. Elena directed the ship's firepower with surgical precision, her mind and the core working in perfect harmony. The warship's weapons cut through the enemy ranks, each strike guided by the core's advanced targeting systems. The Drari fleet, though numerous, struggled to match the warship's sheer power and agility. Scaroth's flagship, a massive dreadnought bristling with weapons, loomed ahead. Elena knew that taking it down would be no easy task. The dreadnought's shields were formidable, and its firepower could devastate their ship if they weren't careful. "Divert all available power to the forward shields and weapons," Elena ordered. "We need to punch through their defenses." The core responded instantly, channeling its immense energy into the ship's systems. The warship surged forward, its cannons firing in rapid succession. Bolts of energy struck the dreadnought's shields, causing them to flare and weaken. Scaroth's voice crackled over the comms, filled with contempt. "You think you can defeat me, human? I will crush you and take the core for myself." Elena's eyes narrowed. "Not today, Scaroth." With a final, concentrated burst of energy, the warship's main cannon fired, the beam piercing through the dreadnought's weakened shields and striking its hull. A chain reaction of explosions rippled through the enemy ship, and moments later, it erupted in a blinding flash of light. Cheers erupted on the bridge as the dreadnought disintegrated, but Elena remained focused. The battle was not yet over. The remaining Drari ships, momentarily stunned by the loss of their leader, began to regroup. "Press the advantage," she commanded. "Don't give them a chance to recover." The warship and its allied fighters pushed forward, exploiting the enemy's disarray. One by one, the Drari ships fell, their defenses overwhelmed by the combined might of the warship and the Zephyr technology. As the last of the enemy fleet was dispatched, a profound silence settled over the battlefield. The warship's crew, exhausted but victorious, began the arduous task of assessing the damage and tending to the wounded. Elena stood at the center of the bridge, her gaze fixed on the stars beyond. The weight of what they had achieved slowly sinking in. They had not only survived, but had struck a decisive blow against their enemies. Kai approached, a look of relief and pride on his face. "We did it, Elena. We actually did it." She nodded, a faint smile playing on her lips. "Yes, we did. But the fight isn't over. We need to regroup with the fleet and prepare for whatever comes next." As the warship set a course for their rendezvous point, Elena took a moment to reflect on the journey that had brought them here. They had faced insurmountable odds, forged alliances with unexpected allies, and uncovered secrets that had the power to change the course of history. Humanity had once again proven its resilience and ingenuity. With the core's power and the support of their Zephyr friends, they were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The final stand against the Drari had been a victory, but it was only the beginning of a much larger battle. As the stars streaked past the viewport, Elena felt a renewed sense of purpose. They were not just fighting for survival, they were fighting for a future where peace and prosperity could flourish. And with the core as their guide, she knew they had the strength to make that future a reality. The warship soared through the vastness of space, the battle behind them, but the mission far from over. Elena stood on the bridge, the weight of their recent victory mingling with the uncertainty of the challenges ahead. The core, now fully integrated and sentient, pulsed with a steady rhythm, its energy a comforting presence. Kai joined her at the viewport, his expression a mix of exhaustion and determination. "We've sent the message to the fleet. They know we're coming and what we have." Elena nodded, her gaze fixed on the stars. "Good. We'll need every bit of support we can muster. The Drari may be scattered, but they're not defeated. Scaroth's fall will only drive them to regroup." As the warship approached the rendezvous point, the familiar sight of allied ships filled the viewport. The fleet, a diverse collection of vessels from various allied worlds, had gathered in response to their call. It was a sight that filled Elena with hope. They were not alone in this fight. The moment the warship docked, Elena and Kai were greeted by Admiral Sinclair, a seasoned veteran with a stern demeanor and a keen tactical mind. "Commander Morales, Lieutenant Nakamura," he greeted, his tone brisk. "I've read your reports. Impressive work. The Corps' capabilities are extraordinary." Elena inclined her head. "Thank you, Admiral. But we still have much to do. The Drari will not give up easily." Sinclair nodded, his expression grave. "Agreed. We've intercepted communications indicating that the Drari are regrouping at their stronghold. They know about the core and its potential. We need to strike before they can consolidate their forces." With the fleet assembled, a strategy meeting was convened. The room buzzed with urgency as officers and representatives from allied worlds discussed their next move. Elena presented the Corps' abilities, emphasizing its potential to turn the tide of the war. "The core is more than just a power source," she explained. "It can enhance our weapons, shield our ships, and even provide advanced tactical data. But we must use it wisely. It's a tool, not a crutch." The plan was audacious but necessary. A direct assault on the Drari stronghold. The element of surprise, combined with the Corps' power, would be their greatest assets. The fleet's morale was high, fueled by the recent victory and the promise of an end to the conflict. As the fleet prepared for the assault, Elena took a moment to address her crew. Standing before them in the warship's hangar, she felt a swell of pride and gratitude. "We've come a long way," she began, her voice steady. "We've faced impossible odds and emerged stronger. Today we fight not just for ourselves, but for every world touched by this war. With the Corps' power and our resolve, we will bring an end to the Drari threat. Let's show them what humanity and our allies are capable of." The crew responded with a rousing cheer, their determination palpable. They knew the stakes, and they were ready. The fleet jumped to hyperspace, emerging at the edge of the Drari stronghold. The sight of the enemy's fortified position was intimidating, but Elena remained focused. All ships, prepare for engagement. Use the core's enhancements to shield our approach. As the battle commenced, the warship led the charge, its shields absorbing the initial barrage of enemy fire. The core's energy flowed through the ship, amplifying its weapons and defenses. Laser fire and explosions filled the space between the fleets, the chaos of battle a stark contrast to the serene beauty of the stars. Elena directed the ship's firepower with precision, targeting key points in the enemy's defenses. The core's tactical data provided a crucial advantage, allowing them to anticipate and counter the Drathari's moves. The battle was fierce, but the tide was turning in their favor. Amidst the fray, a transmission from Scaroth crackled over the comms, his voice filled with rage and desperation. "You cannot defeat us, humans! The core will be ours!" Elena's resolve hardened. "You're wrong, Scaroth. The core belongs to those who fight for peace, not conquest." With a final, concentrated assault, the fleet breached the stronghold's defenses. The warship's main cannon, enhanced by the core, fired a devastating beam that struck the heart of the enemy's command center. The stronghold erupted in a series of explosions, signaling the collapse of the Drathari resistance. Cheers erupted across the fleet as the last of the enemy ships were neutralized. The battle was won, and with it, the promise of peace. As the fleet regrouped, Admiral Sinclair addressed the gathered crews. "Today we have achieved a great victory. The Drathari threat is no more thanks to the courage and ingenuity of our allies. Let this be the dawn of a new era, where we rebuild and strengthen our bonds. Together, we will forge a future of peace and prosperity." Elena stood alongside her crew, a sense of fulfillment and hope washing over her. They had done it. They had turned the tide of history and secured a brighter future for their galaxy. Back on the warship, as they prepared to return to their homeworld, Elena took a moment to reflect. The journey had been arduous, filled with loss and struggle, but also with triumph and unity. The core, now a symbol of their resilience and ingenuity, had guided them to this point. Kai approached, his usual serious expression softened by a rare smile. "We did it, Elena, we really did." She nodded, her heart swelling with pride. "Yes, we did. And now we build a new future, one where we stand together stronger than ever." As the warship glided through the stars, Elena felt a profound sense of peace. They had faced the darkness and emerged into the light. With their allies by their side and the core as their guide, they were ready to embrace the new dawn.